Hello, good morning, excuse me, evening, afternoon, etc. Wherever you are in the world, hope everyone's having a good Sunday. Apologies for not being able to stream last Wednesday. I was feeling pretty rotten. You might be able to tell from my voice. I'm still recovering, but I feel well enough to stand up for a couple of hours and do some C++, so it can't be that bad. Around Julian, glad you're here. Yeah, I mean Windows has got a lot of flags. Is it dark? I feel like it's dark. Maybe that? I don't know, hard to say. Bit of a odds and sods stream today, I think. The goal that the goal is a game that we are relentlessly marching to, but our interim goal is to have the barrels interact with the world through physics. So we're kind of looking to put a collider around it. I think Jolt has a cylinder collider, so we'll get that wired up, we'll get that in there. We then need to we need to sort of add rotations to our rendering code, because our code currently doesn't really support that. And then we'll tie it all up so that, we drop the barrels, they roll around. The representation within the physics engine is then rendered out using the graphics engine. And then we need to add a character controller. I don't think we'll get all that done today, but we'll see. I've sort of kept a kind of loose sort of expectation on myself for this. We'll see how far we get. But that's pretty much my life. Yeah, wake up 7, I knock down a few tinnies, and then straight on to C++. That's just, I assume that's how everyone does their Sunday. I'm glad someone saying they've been implementing their own renderer, and that these videos have been helpful to kind of go over the abstraction. I'm glad it's useful. It's definitely, I'm quite keen to point out, there's no right or wrong answer for any of these kind of things, and mine is certainly very far from the right, but I hope it is useful to some people. And again, a lot of these streams is just me kind of vocalizing my thought process, rather than just me sitting in a room by myself going, how does one jolt? I can kind of do it live with you guys, which is good fun. Quacko, hello. Emery, right? I think we're about good to start. So where did we end? So we ended a week ago, the last stream, with this. So we can create. The physics engine is now the factory class for creating physics things, and we kind of need this because Jolt is very specific about the initialization, and you have to do a load of chuff before you can actually interact with it. So the physics system kind of enforces that on the first construction of a physics system. It does all the global state setup, because it does have effectively some global state. And then from there, we know that we can kind of create objects, and then we use the passkey idiom, which we covered last time. This allows us to have this allows us to restrict a class to specific other classes who can construct it without having to give up all the secrets and all the goodies via friending it. So that was a bit of fun. Again, not necessary. I mean, one could argue none of this is necessary, but it was good fun. I think a few people found it kind of interesting and new. Sudo, hello. The to-do MD, I've kind of retired that. I have like an off-screen Trello board that I'm kind of using for just to track things. It kind of just as they pop into my head, just fire up the app, throw some stuff down. So we need to probably spend a stream, or at least the tail end of a few streams, doing some tidy up at some point. I have more and more thoughts on what I want to kind of open source to be useful as a resource to people. I'm kind of narrowing down exactly what that's going to look like and how that's going to work. But we got to write some more code first. So yeah, let's go through main. Somewhere down here. Nope. Sorry. Yeah. So we update the physics system. I suppose we can probably get rid of this down as well. I think there's some. Just tidy up this file a little bit. It's. Okay. So let's just like tidy up main. Tidy up. Okay, cool. So somewhere, so at the moment we create all of our entities, we load them from the mesh, and so we need to kind of start thinking about abstracting the game a little bit more, so that this end. I'm still not quite sure how I'm going to do it. I'm going to pretty much figure it out live. I don't know whether this is a render entity or a game engine entity, in the sense that, do I just stuff a rigid body into this, or do I create another class which has, and rename this to, like, do I create a new entity and rename this as like renderable entity and then have like a physics entity? I don't really know. I kind of figure it out as we go along. To be honest, we'll probably just shove it all in main as two separate things and just do the bookkeeping ourselves. But obviously, as things expand, we'll want to make things easier for ourselves with some better abstractions. Am I still not in the mouse position somewhere? You could very well be correct. Not in here. Let's have a quick look. Where am I? Mouse. Here we go. What is this? That was the debug UI, I think. It feels like an age since we've written this. Blah blah blah. Debug mouse went. Okay, fine. Let's I'll just amend that to commit. Cool. Okay. Thanks. Good spot. Oh yeah. Feel free to link your project. I'll we'll start off doing that, and then if the chat becomes just like an absolute mess of people sharing random GitHub links, so we'll step in and restrict it. But as someone has asked specifically, I don't mind using this as a way to share it, but I don't obviously want the chat just to be like just a blank canvas for people to advertise stuff. But if someone's requested it, yeah, sure. If the various streaming platforms let you post links, you might have to put spaces in it. Someone said also maybe in window. Oh, hello. What's going on? I think we yes. Okay, a little bit of housekeeping first thing. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm going to get up the Jolt documentation. I should have had this ready to go, but alas, I didn't. Jolt, what are they called? Shapes or something, isn't it? I feel like we might need to rename this like physics shape or something. Shapes is a little bit too much of a generic term, but hey ho, we're all here to make some mistakes. Oh, because it's no, it's because it's an abstract class, isn't it? I remember now. So we had a box shape. Nice. So this used one of these is the box shape setting. So I want to find a list of all the, probably in collision shape. Jolt source. Let's get this up. Have a look together. So where was I looking? We were in physics collision shape. Jolt. Physics collision shape. Okay, so a capsule shape, which we'll probably want to use for our character controller. We've got the compound shape, so I guess that means we can create our own from various other ones. Cylinder shape sounds probably not what we want. So this is a half height, an in radius, and an in convex radius. What's the in convex radius when it's at home? Create a shape centered around the origin with one top at half height and the other at half height and radius radians. Internally, the convex radius will be subtracted from the cylinder. The total cylinder will not grow with the convex radius, but the edges in the cylinder will round a bit. I feel like that is the default for like whatever we want. And interesting to know what a physics material is. I wonder if that's to do with like friction, maybe. Can you say this is like glass or metal or something? Interesting. Okay, let's start writing some code. He said, not writing any code. Cool. Okay. Oh, we must sort out all the files as well, because they're all just bunged in one direction at the moment, and I get unhappy every time I see it, but not unhappy enough to do anything about it. Okay, so let's go for what are we calling it? Cylinder shape. So cylinder shape.h, and I'm going to want wherever the box shape is. Probably just take a lot of this, and then we'll just do %s. Nope, %s. Box shape. Cylinder shape. And then this is going to have what do they have? They have a half height and a radius. We might as well stick. There's no reason to not stick with theirs at the moment. Float half height, float radius. So this will then have float half height, float radius, and then we can get rid of this and do half height, float, and then half height will be a radius. So I think that's pretty much what we want. So those are const. We'll get the native handle, which is a shape setting, which in itself is part of a class hierarchy. So we'll return this as that, and everything seems quite happy with it. Don't need that anymore. Do need this. And this will be dot half height, and then obj dot radius. So at least we can print out all that good stuff. I don't know if there's a delay from the sound. I apologize. I don't really have much control over it. I think I can artificially delay the audio, but I always feel like that's fixing the symptoms, not the cause. And if not everyone has the same amount of delay, I feel it just shifts the problem around. So I'd be interested if anyone else is experiencing this. Not really. I feel like not really a lot I can do. What do I think about making single line getters inline? There is no reason to make it inline, because unfortunately in C++ inline is somewhat misnamed. It used to be a hint to the compiler that you should be able to inline it. Now it actually means mark this as internal linkage, so you don't get ODR violations when you have implementations, etc. across multiple files. I don't mark things as inline because I just assume the compiler is smarter than I am, and it will figure out when to inline it. If you want to force inline it, you then need to use compiler intrinsics like GCC force inline or something like MSVC. I can't remember what it is. So yeah, my view is don't use inline for linkage, not for compiler optimizations. Almost nothing. Okay, fine. I'm going to leave it as is. If the delay is on Twitch, it occurs when you don't look at the tab. Refresh fixes it. Okay, good to know. Okay, right, so we've got a cylinder shape. So now I'm going to want some sort of implementation for this. And then box shape. Again, a little bit of copy and paste never hurt anyone. Cylinder. And then what's it, Q colon to get my previous commands, and then there we go. And I'll just fix all this up. So fix this up right here. Really, I need to find a way of getting Clang-D to stop importing the jolt headers incorrectly. So essentially then what we have, ooh dear, that's not what we want at all. So then we have what, const half height, const No, what am I doing? Constant. Still recovering from illness. My brain is not fully engaged. Half height. So you will have to put up with a little bit of that, I'm afraid. Part of the fun. Part of the fun. Okay, right. And then we had half height was half height. I actually prefer the braced initialization where I can. Radius. And then, so this now should be quite easy. I shouldn't need to do any conversions. I should be able to just pass to that constructor my half height and radius, and that should all be tickety-boo. S box shape should become cylinder shape. Sort that out. And the same for the header file, I think. Yes, that's still that. So qdit and then Okay, I think we're getting somewhere. So now I just need to take these functions and implement them. Cylinder shape, return half height, and then return radius, and then let Clang format fix up all my mistakes, I think. And then I think it's going to add to the CMake, and we're hot to trot. Cylinder. Yeah, again, like I think you're potentially solving the wrong problem if you're trying to force inline something. There are probably situations where you want it, and I'm sure, and that's why those are there. But I think by and large, you probably don't need those. Can the constructor take height and just do height over 2? It could do. I'm matching up to, because we're just writing abstraction around Jolt. I've just matched their interface. Like obviously the point of abstraction is we can provide our own interface, but I see no reason to bother doing that. The passkey constructor for is just prevents anyone but the physics system from constructing it. We did this last stream. So passkey is a class with a private constructor, so only the friend T can actually construct a passkey, and then that's from the template. So when we construct the cylinder shape, we basically say, hey, only physics systems are allowed to create us, because no one else will be able to construct this object, which means no one else will be able to fully invoke the constructor. Yeah, it's usual. It's just it's a more fine-grained friend, basically. So, good question. Should try and explain myself better. This brace initialization, or whatever you want to call it, I can't remember the actual, is it brace initialization in the standard? I can't remember. Has slightly different semantics over the rounded brackets. This prevents you from doing narrowing, so you can't accidentally shrink your type. It will complain. It doesn't fall foul of the most vexing pass, so it removes an ambiguity in the grammar. It's kind of designed to be, because the thing with C++, right? One of the things with C++ is it has a somewhat relentless obsession with maintaining backwards compatibility. So what you find is this: it's very hard for this when they're standardizing stuff to kind of ever remove things, or you can only the best way to do it is just kind of add new things which make certain old ways of doing things redundant or easier than that, and then you kind of update the guidance, like, oh, you should prefer this, old code will use this, but new code will use this. It's like std_cout versus std_println, right? Std_cout is still valid, but I would argue std_print and std_println are much better ways of doing it, but you can't remove cout. So yeah, it just has slightly different constructor implications. I think for, in terms of like the language, I think there's like 18 different ways of initializing an integer. So, you know, you are somewhat spoilt for choice, shall we say. Yes, and of course, if you just use auto and then that, it will deduce it to a std initializer list of the type of the thing inside it, which is always fun as well. Yeah, exactly. You can't remove it because people are using it. Indeed. C++. But hey, that is the poison we have chosen to drink today. And I assume people wouldn't be here if they didn't have at least some interest in the language, or maybe they don't, and here for other reasons. Doesn't, you know, I'm not that fussed why you're here. I'm just pleased you are. Right. Just check that still blends. I think there's very little reason to avoid the standard library these days. I think it's pretty good. I think it's a good baseline. My view. Oh, what is going on? Someone will fix this. Yeah. Like. I just like, I think for me, like the standard library is pretty battle tested. It's pretty well reviewed and used. It's not perfect, but then nothing is, and there are certain restrictions, like std unordered map can only really be, the way it's worded in the standard, can only really be implemented with chaining for conflict resolution, do you know what I mean, stuff like that. But I think it's a good like first pass. Like, I just need something that works, and you've probably already got on your system because you've got a compiler. Like, I would say reach, and also like I would reach for the standard library, and also like the standard library contains loads of stuff. Like, you're saying you wouldn't use any of the algorithms because the way they're implemented. I think people kind of get a little bit hung up on saying I shouldn't use like the containers, but like, who's not going to just reach for a vector when they need a dynamic array? Personally, you know, there are obviously reasons not to if you have very specific requirements that are not met by that. But I think the stuff you get out of the standard is kind of broad enough and optimized enough for, like, I would say a good chunk of your use cases. And you know, you then, once you profiled it and realize it's not what you need, you then reach for something else. Yeah, that's my opinion, right? You're obviously free to write whatever code you want, but I would always reach for the standard first and then specialize when that doesn't meet my requirements. And I think requirements are normally quite broad to meet quite a lot of use cases. What have I broken? I probably shouldn't have removed log. I like std regex is a little ball. It's a good example because I've never benchmarked it, but I've looked at benchmarks. I think std regex is pretty terrible for performance. But if you just need something quick and you don't want to bring in boosts or bring in a library or just do something, then like just do it. Queco, thanks very much for resubscribing. Much appreciated. For anyone on Twitch, of which there are quite a few of you, hello. If you've got a Prime sub, much, you know, and you want to use it, that'd be much appreciated. Hello, computer nerd. Okay, right, so that works. So what we should now be able to do is replace that sphere with a cylinder and see it, check that it's rendered properly, and then we can start figuring out how we're going to wire all this up together. Let's go back to main. Get rid of that. We'll bring in our cylinder shape. And then somewhere we should have is it like a sphere shape? There you go, auto sphere shape. So let's do const auto cylinder shape equals ps dot create. And again, because we're using a templated factory method, we don't have to, every time we add a new shape, we don't have to worry about messing around with physics system and extending the API, which I'll just pass that in as a template parameter, which I think is quite nice. I've no idea how big anything is, so let's just go for like 1.0 f and like 0.5 f. which will give it 2 tall and a half wide, I think. And then this then becomes cylinder shape, and then we can drop this. I've left a typo somewhere, have I? Oh, I have. That was going to be a fun one. Right, try again. I don't know if I agree with this. Hang on, let's just check this first, then we'll go back to talking. It might be more of a talkie than code honest. I definitely saw something. That looks like a cylinder to me. It's subdivided way more than I thought it was going to be, but here we are. So we need that to probably be... Do we say that is like a third bigger? Maybe half wider? And definitely twice as tall, I'd say. I just want to get roughly lined up to what we expect. But I mean, again, like, I couldn't tell you what the motivation is for people writing papers, but I think I wouldn't necessarily think of it as they add things to the standard library to avoid people using Boost. I think of Boost as like a testing ground for new features. So when you come to the standardization process, you're like, here's a paper for X, here's a reference implementation, it's used in Boost, it's been used for how many years, you know, we've had all this feedback, you know, I think that kind of helps build your case for getting it standardized. So I think Boost is a good like proving ground for potential things to be included in the standard. I'm doing okay, thanks. I hope you are well. I'm still a bit recovering from cold. Apologies if my voice is even more annoying than usual. Radius 4 times. Well, let's whack these numbers up. So we're gonna go. Nope, we're not gonna do. Christ. Right. So I reckon it needs to be twice as tall, and we're going to go 4 times bigger, so something like that. I could... I was going to say, you can wire this up to ImGUI so we could do it in real time, but I don't think you can modify this once you've added it to the rigid body. I guess we could have the dials and like spawn a new object. I don't know. So I get on by just doing it the hard way. Yeah, Haran, that's exactly what I want to do, is basically get some physics objects roughly matching these barrels, and I want to get them kind of like rolling around or knocking them over. It'd be nice if we could eventually kind of walk through them and knock them over. Again, I don't know if that's going to be useful, but I think it's useful for building out the abstraction. It might not be useful for the game. I think that's probably a little bit too big now, and it needs to be a little bit taller. I'm just going to eyeball this. I'm not going to get it too perfect. I reckon that needs to maybe be halved. So let's try 1 and making that 2. Sorry, I was distracted by the chat, and then I didn't realise it was dropping. I think height-wise, I'm pretty happy with that. It could be a smidge bigger, but like again, I think for us to kind of get going with this, I'm not too fussed. And then probably 50% bigger again. Oh, last time. We'll play this game one more time. I reckon maybe like 1.3. Oh, God, 1.75. I assume everyone wanted to play Guess the Float today. I think that's actually pretty close. It might be a tad bigger, but I think once we line them up, it'll be a little bit more obvious what's going on. So yeah, I think. Oh yeah, we'll just do hot loading. I mean, that is very much that's an indulgence. That's a nice to have and not getting us any closer. And closing the discussion on pick the float for now, I think that's good enough. And then we'll go back and we can, if people really want to at the end, we can play guess the float again. Okay, so what we need is I think we're gonna need some sort of struct. And I'm not putting this in a file yet because I don't really know what I want yet, if that makes sense. Game entity. I don't know, like graphics entity, render entity, and that gets us a pointer. And then game rigid body, and I think that gets us a value. So physics entity. I actually feel maybe entity is redundant there. If we got game entity dot render, game entity dot physics, maybe. That doesn't feel right either because this is not a physics. I don't know. I could spend about an hour thinking about that and getting nowhere. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the construction of the physics system up to here, I guess. This doesn't really matter. I mean, I guess we could just do that first. All right. So we'll construct the window, set up all the graphics stuff. We'll construct the floor, and then we'll create that rigid body. And then what we'll do is we'll look as we go through here. Entities will now become entity, game entity, and then we will need to in place back. Probably push back now actually, because I'm not gonna. Push back a. Oh no! Wait a minute. This is by value, isn't it? Because that's what we had before, right? So push back a that, and then a physics entity, which is going to be the. Where is it? This bad boy here. Right, let's take this, yank this up here. We'll create the cylinder shape there, and this will become here. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. I'm gonna want those. I'm gonna want maybe another one. Treat myself, and then that. What's that? What's that look like once at home? One too many. Have I got one too many? Here. Here? And now what does it not like now? Oh, of course, now. What? I was really hoping it might format that a little bit better. That cannot. No. What? So this will, because it's push. No, I've actually got one too few, I think, because I'm going to push back. Or maybe I still want in place back. That's not an object, that's why. And that, don't want that. Right. So if we can appease the compiler, I think that's what I want, right? Maybe. It's a bit of a. I think it's a bit of a. I think the jury's kind of out whether InPlaceBack is superior. It does have. It does return you a reference to the object you've added, which pushback doesn't and can't because of the aforementioned backwards compatibility. But because it does perfect forwarding and more type deduction, I think there are some potential issues with it. Basically, I kind of base it off what other people, not what other people say, but other people I respect say, and so. If you've never read the Abseil blog, I would 100% recommend it. I think it's a little bit dated now, but the advice, and again, the advice might have changed, but I think they do a whole analysis of it and like the good cases and the bad cases and like what happens because of the way it forwards the types on and how they match to various constructors, there are potentially issues, and they basically say, so in general, if both pushback and InPlaceBack would work the same, prefer pushback. So that's kind of what I base it on. Yes, you couldn't, if you were to InPlaceBack, you couldn't have type deduction here because there's no idea what constructor is trying to match. So again, for here, but then potentially you could drop them in. Well, no, you would still need to name this one. Yeah. So in this case, it's probably less typing. I use InPlaceBack when I tend to prefer pushback. That's just my preference. Again, having read through some of the potential pitfalls of InPlaceBack, if all things being equal, they are the same, then I would pick pushback. I do use InPlaceBack when I want a reference to the thing I've just pushed, which is really nice, and I really wish they would retrofit that to pushback, but I don't think they can. Okay, so... Oh, Christ, what? So this is where we get out the entity. So what does this store? Right, so I now need to convert this array of game objects to vector of game objects to a vector of pointers. So I think this now just becomes e.render entity. Where's the debug lines optional? Okay, fine. In which case, again, we should be able to just do points there. Yeah, so yeah, mixture of designated and non-designated initializers. Oh yeah, hang on, sorry. So that should be. I'm surprised it's complaining about that. But... okay. Yeah, so the piping is for ranges. So this came in C++20. It is probably my favorite, like, recent addition to the language, and I use any excuse to use them. It just allows you to kind of create a pipeline of composable views, which are. Hang on, let me get this right. It's a non-owning, cheap to copy view over a collection. Whereas a range, a range is a pointer and a size, or a pointer and a pointer. I can't remember specifically how it's implemented or if they even impose that. But a range is just a bounded range over some collection, and a view is a potential like lazily evaluated modification over that. So I take my entities, which is an array of as a vector of game entity, and I say transform that. So turn that from a view over the whole entities to a view over just a pointer to one of the submembers, and then I pipe that to ranges2, which then converts it to a vector. So I actually effectively get out a vector of pointers to one of the submembers. Yeah, so operator overload. So C++ allows you, for better or worse, to overload operators. So we can see this. We've done this. Have we done this for vector? So when we add two vectors, right? Where's the tests? Even got tests. Oh, that's a terrible test. When you do something like vec1 plus vec2, right, and both of these are types, the compiler will say, oh, you've asked me to perform addition over these two types. Do I know how to do that? Do I know how to do that? And I know how to do that for integers and floats and stuff like that. And basically what this does is adds an additional option for the compiler to reach for and be like, oh, I've been given two classes, I don't know how to add them, but you've told me how to add them. So what I'll actually do is I'll convert this into a call. This exactly becomes that. And this is how you define your own operators. So it does get somewhat. So I would say the conventional wisdom is do it for mathematical operations that make sense. So when we want to add two vectors together, like literally perform vector addition, it kind of makes sense to overload the additional operator. There, it does get abused slightly. So the classic one is / in std file system. It allows you to, I think Python might do this as well. You can have like std file system paths and you can / them because they look like the Linux file delimiter character, but it's really calling a division operator. So you can divide all your files together and it produces a cumulative path. That's kind of an abuse. The other classic abuse is ranges, because it's using the pipe, which is the bitwise OR operator, but then that's how Linux works on the command line, so it's sort of semi-intuitive. Std cout is the other classic one that's abused, because when you see out something, you're actually using the left bit shift operator, but they treat it as a stream, so you're like stream that data to see out. There's a few others as well. You can overload the comma operator. You should never overload the comma operator. I have looked and I've never found a legitimate use case for overloading the comma operator, as in like you can get like when you do something like this to call a function between these and then between these. I think there is one place potentially in Boost that uses it, but I would absolutely not recommend not doing that. The comma is just by default doesn't do anything, but it does evaluate each of those expressions from, I want to say, right to left. So it's just kind of it just allows you to kind of chain up effectively allows you to chain up multiple expressions into one larger expression. The secret slide operator is still funny, that. Yeah. Can it be used per namespace? So something ADL, yes, but I can never remember all the exact ADL rules. Yep, operators are just functions, but it's the same for like you do it for like the equality operator, right? When you write equals, that just becomes a function call to this. I mean I've defaulted it here. So some places use, like, instead of a cross operator, they'll overload the carry, so the XOR operator. So you could do like vector1 carry vector2. I don't do that because I think that is somewhat of an abuse of the system, but kind of might, you can do what you want with it. Outrageous. And actually I overload these are all binary operators. You can also overload the unary operators, so I do actually overload the operator minus. So when I do minus v1, it calls this function, which actually negates the no, not this one, which actually negates all the elements. So if I wanted to invert or negate my vector, I don't have to write this on every vector. I can just do minus that vector. But good question. And again, this was many a stream ago. So which means you're probably new here. So I'm glad you're here. And I'm happy to kind of go over these old things and answer some of these questions, because we've written quite a lot of code so far. I still think it's worth learning OpenGL, because I think DirectX 12 and Vulkan and I guess Meta as well, those sort of like new age, like super low level APIs are just so incredibly difficult and require a huge, I think they require quite a deep understanding of graphics programming, whereas OpenGL, someone like me who has no like actual experience in this, can kind of figure out a lot of it. just because OpenGL's not been updated does not mean it's not useful, and I think you can get pretty good results if you do all the modern like OpenGL 4.6 stuff with like what is it, you got DSA, and then you can use compute shaders, and you can do what's the one where you build up the actual render commands on the CPU using like, and then you can do like occlusion and stuff like that. I forget what it's called. Yeah, you can get pretty good results. Drink some water, thanks. Cool. Okay, right. I kind of got sidetracked there, but that's fine. All good questions. All good questions. So yeah, that's what I do here. Is I use ranges, which is I think the original question before we went on a bit of a tangent to kind of just nicely. This removes the loop, right? And it removes the need to keep track of the state. I don't have to create an empty vector and keep appending to it, which means it can come out as const. There's a whole load of niceties. And once you kind of get used to this, I think this is easier to read and harder to get wrong. Actually, maybe ranges is quite easy to get wrong. Maybe I don't mean that, but I think it's definitely easier to read. This allows you to convey your intention clearer, I would say. I think that's what I wanted to say. Okay, right. So we've got this, we've got that, and we've got the other. That all gets updated. So after the PS update, before we do the render, we now need to for auto. I will just call these render and physics in entities. I think someone asked what NeoVim plugins I use. I don't have that many. I use Kickstart, so whatever Kickstart has, and then I use just like a few other little ones here and there, but I wouldn't say it's anything too like wild. All my dot files are available on GitHub, so if you're interested in my specific setup, you can go and see those. It's 1,000 lines of code to draw a triangle in Vulkan, or at least it was when I gave it a go. Maybe it's better. Okay, so now I need to. So let's go back to the rigid body. We now need a way of getting the position out of this. So let's do auto position. Nope, I was right the first time. Const vector3. Okay, and then I think we need to keep track of the body interface. But now we are faced with an interesting choice, because but as a general rule, I tend to avoid storing references as class members, because that has an implicit effect on the class. For instance, it's no longer copy assignable because you can't reseat a reference. Do I care? I might just convert it to a pointer. Maybe. Could use the reference wrapper. What do I want? What do I want? I guess pointers probably make sense because it's copyable. And I know it won't be null because I would have been passing a reference. So I think internally converting to that makes sense. It doesn't have any. By doing that, I reduce any additional side effects on the class that I don't want to have at the moment. Although saying that, maybe rigid body itself shouldn't be copyable in the first place. What does it even mean to copy a rigid body? At the moment, it's just a wrapper around the jolt one and a pointer to that. So copying it would not spawn you another entity. You would just end up with two references to the same one. Do I want that? Is that design time. Do I want that? Do I want to allow people to copy a rigid body class? I think the answer might be no. Because I think copying is unintuitive in that case. You can get a new reference to it. That is a good point, but you would then have to have access to the underlying physics system object. So you still have to pass in something. I don't think it's global. How do I get stuff done and read both chats? Just multitasking. I don't know, to practice. Yeah. But then I try to avoid clone as well, because then I feel like I'm bypassing the features the language gives me, which is copy constructors. But I do get it. I do get it. And then obviously you can have like virtual clone if you need to. But then at that point you're better off using. What's the thing they're trying to standardize at the moment? Is it polymorphic type? No. What is it? I know the guy who's writing the paper, so I should know this. It's completely. I think it might be. Is it? What's the other one? Is it indirect type? Indirect value. I think this is it. So they basically behave as value types over special members and allow you to copy them, and then you can kind of specialize them as needed. But and it also works with polymorphic types as well. So this is quite interesting. I can't off the top of my I'm going to use a little bit of an excuse. I'm still not 100%. I can't remember the specifics, but I know that this basically kind of gives you what we were kind of talking about, where it gives you like value type semantics over a pointer, basically, or a reference. It's basically unique pointer, but for value rather than a pointer. Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna go rigid body const rigid body equals delete, and then we'll do auto. Oh, does this work? Auto rigid auto operator const rigid body equals delete. And then because I've now violated the rule of 0, so I'm going to have to go for the rule of 5. Well, let's just rigid body equals default. I actually might want to zero out the pointer. No, I think this is alright. I think this will work. Because there's no destructor doing anything, so I don't have to worry about leaving the state around. You should just assume that your move from state is valid but unknown. Okay, right. So now I don't feel quite so bad about just storing a Jupyter. Was it body interface? Okay, I think I've satisfied myself that I like that. yeah, they pretty much just slapped that GitHub link straight into it. It's fine. Does the enum class allow you to store values in the enum, like some kind of variant enum? All an enum does is provide a subset of names, a set of names over a subset of a range of integers, effectively. That's all it does, right? Each enum class is backed by a type. By default, it's int, but you can choose, and then you basically assign a name to some of those or all of those values. This is indeed near-vim. I feel like explicitly defaulted move assignment operator is implicitly deleted. Why is that? That's confusing to me. I'll see what the compiler actually says. Oh, of course. Of course. You're right. You can't assign the reference. So that would have to be delete as well. So we can basically move construct. Yeah, all we saw is a pointer. So actually maybe we are back to what we wanted. Because I feel like disabling this and not this is strange. So actually, good spot. So the issue is exactly what I said at the beginning, is references and what you call non-reseatable once a reference is bound. Because a reference is just like a thing that exists within the compiler. Like, you know, it's an alias to some other type. And then compiler magic happens around that. So once you have bound a reference to a value, which you have to do at the point of construction, or assignment, whatever, you cannot reseat it. You cannot make it refer to something else. So by overloading the move assignment operator, we're basically saying you might be able to take some other object and move assign each of these, which you wouldn't have to do for if this was a reference. The language is a fever dream, and I encourage you to ask as many questions as you want, and I'll try my best to answer them. Okay. It's good fun, though. It is good fun. Okay, so now we do type body, and then let's do std address of body interface, because back to the is that in utility? Oh, hang on. No, it's because I've just... as in type traits. Sure. Why not? That doesn't seem right to me. Anyway. Back to what we were saying. So this links... coincidentally and quite nicely back to what we were talking about earlier, you can overload the ampersand, which means you can overload the address of operator. So you can basically say, hey, when someone comes to take the address of my object, actually do this. And I think we actually, do we do this? I've done this before. Yes. So in our auto release wrapper, which is you can think of it again like a unique pointer for like integer-based handles, effectively. I overload the address of operator to return the address of the thing inside it, not to the wrapping class. Whether you should do that or not is debatable, but because you cannot tell a priori whether this has the... I mean, you probably could with concepts, but let's assume I don't know at this point whether this has overloaded the address of operator without having to go through all the code. So the address of will always get to the address of the actual object and bypass any address of operator overload that it might have. Is it supposed to be in memory? Okay. I think that's actually right. I think because it's not complaining, it's now unused. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so I think we can kind of maybe clarify some of the this here is strange, I would say, if you're coming from another language. This feels like drawing runes in the sand to summon, some sort of eventual outcome that you're hoping for, which is largely what C++ programming is. C++ allows you to pretty much customize every part of an object's lifetime, including the construction, i.e. how you actually create the object. Optionally, again, these are all kind of optional. You can overload what to do when the object is destroyed, i.e. it goes out of scope if it's locally if it's stack allocated, or gets deleted. So you're like, I can do some cleanup, I can close a socket handle, whatever you need to do. It also allows you to specify what happens when you copy an object, as in copy construct it. So I want to create a new one from another one. So the syntax for that would look something like rigid body RB1, rigid body RB2, RB1, right? So that you can basically say, I want to define I want to, like, I might care what this does. I might not want to just get a copy of all the members. I might need to allocate some additional resources. I might need to duplicate something, do something special. So this allows you to basically say, when someone writes this, the compiler will call this for you. And if you do equals delete, it basically says, if someone calls this, give them a compiler error. I will not allow this object to be copied. So I'm effectively disabling this functionality on this class. Because C++ cares very deeply about everything, it actually makes a differentiation between copy constructing and copy assigning. So this here, right, is a different operator to this one, because this one is already working on something that has previously been constructed. Because again, you might need to release resources before you copy something over, blah, 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 blah. So these are kind of the two, like the copy operators, like, which cover these two situations. And I've basically said, I don't want any of that. The double ampersand is for moving, and, well, for when you're passing R value reference, which kind of within the lore of C++ means moving, it means transferring ownership. So I might not be able to copy something, but I might be able to transfer ownership of one object from one place to another. And I kind of want that. I don't want the object to just be kind of like stuck wherever it is. I might need to, like I said, transfer ownership. But kind of a bit of guilty knowledge, knowing what these types are, the default is fine for me. And again, you can differentiate between move construct and move assign. I hope that kind of makes sense. There's a whole like hour of me talking about value categories if you want to go right into the weeds of it, but I feel like we won't get anything else done. So that's hopefully enough to kind of bootstrap you into kind of having a bit of an understanding of what I was just trying to write out. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, right. Where was I? Yeah, so part of my role is I teach C++ to incoming grads, and we can easily spend a whole day going over value categories and our value references and forwarding references and the implications of templates around them all. So like, don't let all this kind of, you're kind of getting a snapshot of, I've been doing this for a decade and I'm still figuring out a lot of this as I go along. So you're kind of getting a snapshot of all that experience. Don't let it dishearten you. It's all just code. It will all just, the compiler will or won't accept it, and it will or won't run. You can kind of, it's all readable. But yeah, we are kind of a little bit in the weeds now, which is kind of where I like to be and what I like to talk about. But don't don't become despondent because I've just dropped the extended C++ lore on you. What are we doing after all that? Oh, we want to get the position. Just want to get the position. This is why it takes ages to do anything C++, because I just want to get the position. Oh, well, now I'm worrying about whether I can construct myself from a PR value. So and I cannot remember how to do this. It's something to do with, we had this a few streams ago. Our stream. It's in their Hello World example. Let me find it. The Jolt Hello World is really good, by the way. I think it's like was really useful to kind of go through all this. Somewhere in there, and this is all the what I was talking about, all like the weird global setup you have to do. You have to set this static thing to a dynamically allocated factory. You have to register the types. Only do it once, and before you do anything else. So the Hello World is kind of good to get the grasp of that, but it's not good for building out an abstraction. You kind of have to figure that step out for yourself. Yeah. Somewhere it is get center of mass position, I guess. Sounds good. So let's do const auto position equals the body interface get center of mass position. It's nice because we can also get the transform, which we'll probably need later for the rotation. And then I need the body. This bit I can remember, I think. It's like get ID. Get ID. I find it kind of strange that. So Jolt's really interesting. It's a really good bit of software. Obviously, like it's a physics engine used by in AAA games. It's kind of interesting over the design because there's definitely things that I would not have designed that way, and not me being in any way disparaging to like the incredible work they've done. But I feel like if you're already handing out pointers and stuff, like that is a pointer is just a number, right? That is in and of itself an ID. It seems kind of strange to attack that on the end. I'm sure there's a wider design decision that I'm like not seeing, but that's just my observation. I'm going to do that. Do this, do that, and do the other. And now I think, do I have the utils? I think I can return to. I called it to native. I think I called it to native position. So this is just a helper function I wrote, which takes a Jolt vector and converts it to our internal vector. And again, I would be very surprised if a compiler didn't like absolutely crush this down and make it pretty optimal. Yeah, I think we'll flesh out the rigid body API with like the velocities and the rotations and all the stuff as we need them. But I think for now we just need position. So now back to main, we should be able to do const auto position equals render dot nope, physics dot position, and then render dot model dot model help entity I want to be able to set them. So again, design decision. At the moment, we don't expose the way to mutate any of this. They're all effectively just const getters, which is fine. We want to be able to update the model matrix. So do we just have like a set model, or do we have like a translate, or move? Do you know what I mean? Like I think intuitively we should have translate. Or at least set position, I think, is probably, and then the fact that that has to be converted into a matrix is an implementation detail. Right. I mean, so the question is like IDs allow you to safely access instances instead of potentially having a pointer that points to garbage. But like, who's to say the ID is valid? Like, there's quite a lot of integers, and I doubt they're all assigned to something. So yeah, they're conceptually the same, right? They're just a pointer and an ID they're just numbers. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, I've gone sort of mostly used to my new keyboard now, and I do like the clickety clackety sound. Okay, right. So entity and then yes. I think we'll keep it simple. We'll just do it because all we need, again, I'm trying to be aware of only writing code that we need, not necessarily code that we want. So I think we only need this at the moment. So then we can do model equals matrix for position. I think there's a constructor which takes a position. It does takes translation and just fills them straight out. Nice. Okay, so then we can do render dot set position of position. So this should, I think we're going to need to. This should spawn a bunch of what are they called? Barrels, capsule cylinders at the top. Gravity should pull them down. Then on each tick, after we've updated the physics, we will effectively synchronize the graphics layer with the physics layer. I think that sounds reasonable. Again, like I don't know the specifics of job. I'm just maybe, but I'm just kind of looking at it from the outside. Like, like I said, I'm sure there's a reason. Hello, where are they? Oh, that is sluggish. That is really sluggish. Is it just? Are they all? I've spawned them all on the same spot, haven't I? I've not adjusted the physics. They're all in there. Oh, that is slow. Oh, there's a lot of cylinders there. Also, where are the cylinders as well? I'd expect them all to be. Why am I using training return types? Because I've never done it in C++ before, and I wanted to try it on a decent-sized project where I'd be forced to kind of do it over and over again to see how I feel, and I feel okay about it. Okay, so there's lots of things to hate about this. So one, we should have const auto x equals static cast float I times, can't remember what that magical 3.5 was for, but it was obviously important. Oh, that's the spacing between them. And then fxry and then firj. Oh, nope. Right. And then we should be able to do. In fact, actually, let's do const auto start pos equals game vector 3 x 100.9 f z and then we can just do start pos why is it start, and then here again the beauty of us abstracting all to use our own types is I can now just stick this into the physics engine internally, it will convert it to the right point, the right type. Okay, so that's not better. I think I'm just gonna, I don't know, cut that down a little bit, and we'll see if we can debug this. Let's Here we go. Oh my goodness, they're all different colours. How exciting. Of course, I do have one question. Where have all the barrels gone? Like, no? Is it? I have a thought. Excuse me. I'll just cough right into the mic. I hope everyone enjoyed that. I do have a thought that where we set the position, we don't preserve the scale. So these barrels might be absolutely massive, and we might just be sitting inside them. I'm going to move back a little bit and see if that's true, because for some reason the scaling on the model is way different to the scaling in the renderer. Okay, I was hoping they might pop up, because we had this issue before where we just stepped back a little bit and then suddenly they all appeared. Although I don't have backface rendering disabled, so I would expect to see the inside of them. But anyway, what I'm talking about is I basically just say here, the matrix is now this position, whereas actually it should preserve any existing transformations over it. Compression not happy. So actually what I want, nope, not that at all, absolutely not that. Okay, what I want to do is just set these elements in the model, right? So model dot 0, 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, 11, 12 equals position. People keep saying it was like the compression was unhappy with that. Like, did it actually have a noticeable effect on the stream? Because we're going to be doing it a lot, so I mean, oh, do I not have a subscript operator? Oh, how mad, how fun. Okay, another operator you can overload is the subscript operator, which gives you square bracket access to it. So now I want auto operator, nope, nope, third size t index. I need to use deducing this for this, don't I? Right? Float ref equals return elements index. Right? But I need a const and non-const overload for it. So where did we use deducing this? Can anyone remember? Another bit of modern C++ lore for you there. Self, the TLV reader. So actually, we will do this auto self. Return self dot elements. All right. So this is a C++ 23 feature called deducing this. So if you're familiar with Python, you'll know that in all the member functions that you declare within a class, you have to set the first member as self. That is the pointer to the object that you're operating on. C++ does this implicitly for you. So when you do this, right, this is a pointer to the object that you're a pointer to the actual object this method has been called on, and it is implicitly the first argument for it. Like the assembly gets laid out, so it's put there. You don't have to worry about it. C++ 23 allowed you to optionally specify this, and basically what this allows you to do is sort of leverage the type deduction rules and the templating. So if I call this on, well, let me show you the problem I was actually trying to solve first, and then I'll show you why this is better. So we were going to have right, we're going to have that, and then, but this won't work on a const object. So if I want to be able to call it on a const object, I would have to do const, right? And basically all I've really done here is I've duplicated, I've had to duplicate the code, right? It's not a big duplication, but it's kind of annoying. And if this had some more complex logic in it, I'd have to duplicate it or use the Scott Mayer's trick where you cast it away, blah, 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 blah. This is now a template because it uses auto. This follows all the same. This is a template. So every time I call this, it will instantiate this template. And if I call it on a non-const one, it'll instantiate this. And if I then later call it on a const one, it'll instantiate this for me. I kind of get both for free by leveraging the deducing this. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. It's kind of just renaming this to self, but you have to give it a type because C++ is strongly typed. But you would traditionally you would use, I say traditionally, it's a new feature, you would use a template. That was a brief interlude. So now this should work. Can I make this context bro? Is this? I feel like I can make that context bro. Okay, right. Let's prepare your bit rates. Big fan of chocolate digestives. Yes, I try and not buy biscuits because I eat them all. That looked better. Bloody love biscuits. Okay. A little bit not right, like, but a little bit better. Thoughts, feelings? I don't know why there's such a. I think we need to do it with one, and get that like pucker, and then we can go from there. So let's go main. Oh, I went from -10. That's why I've got so many. Let's go from 0 to 1 and 0. The best kind of loop is one that only executes once. I might just drop this down a little bit. I don't think it needs to be quite so high in the air. Also, chocolate whole numbers is a fine choice. Definitely, something's not quite. Why is there such an inconsistency in? The double ampersand. So there's two in C++. There are two types of references. If you're familiar with what references are, there's L value references and R value references. One will only bind to an L value, and one will only bind to an R value. By using the double ampersand, you are either, depending on where you're using it, you're either declaring your reference as R value, or you're saying you will only accept a reference to an R value, which has certain implications on the design and potentially allows you to write more optimal code because you can steal the resources. The intention is that you steal the resources of something else rather than copying it. But yeah, I think you'll find they're called forwarding references now, not universal references. But yeah, if you template it and then have the double ampersand, it will be whatever the value category that it was passed in as, in which case you then need stood forward to preserve that, not stood move. And if you take away nothing else from this stream, remember, stood move doesn't move and stood forward doesn't forward. AC. I'm a little bit upset with this. I'm not gonna lie. The physics system view of the world, as in like 000, must differ to the graphics one. That's the only thing I can think of. Because if the physics put something at 000 and then I render it at 000, why would those not be the same? So, yep, unconditional cast to an R value reference. Yeah, it's you're right. It is off on every axis, isn't it? Why is it floating in the air? Like, well, let's take a step back. There could be a bug in conceptually, right? If the physics system says something is at 000 and I go to render something there, then it should be at 000. Like there is, it's the issue must be somewhere in the glue between the two. I'm either mutating the position en route or I'm not correctly setting it, is my thinking on this. It is 0, 1, nope, no. 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, because basically, if you... I don't mind talking about this because I think it's interesting, and it's one of those really weird nuances of C++ that until you kind of bash your head against it for a bit, it doesn't make any sense. Like, say I want to call this, right? I want to invoke this operator, but I only have an L value to a rigid body, right? I have a named thing. This is disabled, right? So let's do this. So I have... Right, and then I do rigid body R2, and I want to construct, I want to copy, well, if I try and do this, it'll try and invoke the copy constructor, right? And this will be disabled, it's deleted, and the compiler will be like, no, you can't do this, go away, try again. But I might want to move construct this. I might, if I want, but this is defaulted, right? So I want to match this. This is the one I want effectively, and semantically what that means is I want to move into, I want to transfer ownership of R1 into R2. So then what you do is you just do move R1, right? All this does is, this is, I think, pretty much exactly equivalent to right? And because this, or this, has converted this to an R value reference, right? You are now constructing with an R value reference, which allows you to match this constructor. That's all the std move does, is it casts it so that you can pick a different overload. And again, like the semantics of what you're doing, like the implications are transferring ownership. And that's why, I think that's why they called it moved, because you are only normally doing this in order to transfer ownership of R1 into R2. I still think this should have just been called R value cast. But hey ho, what do I know? I go back and forth about what kind of like doing like more like dedicated C++ videos. There is a lot of C++ stuff out there. I mean, of varying, I don't want to say quality, because I think anyone who's dedicating their time to try and teach this is, you know, deserves a bit of respect. But varying levels of up-to-dateness, I think, is probably the best way of saying it. I don't know, it just takes me so long to do a video, and I really enjoy doing like the game hacking ones, and those tend to bring in pretty good views, so that's kind of where my focus is. The streaming is my chance to do the forward engineering and talk about this stuff in a more kind of relaxed setting. So I have no plans to do this in the videos. I'd rather kind of just kick back and do it live with you guys, because it really forces me to think on my feet and make sure I have a rough idea of what I'm talking about. It can't hide behind the editing here. I'm not getting actually any closer to solving this problem. I just want to just run it again and just have a look. So here's a great point. So after moving a value, I cannot use it in the original scope then. So a moved from value shouldn't be used, but can be used. And this is where the bear trap is. This is because there's no borrow checker in C++. There's nothing to stop you using it. The standard says, for at least all of its types that you move from, the object is left in a valid but unknown state. So have a think what the implications of all that is. The thing you're left with is valid but unknown. So it basically means you can destruct it and you can copy a sign over it. Is it UB? It depends what it does, right? If you move from an integer, that's the same as copying, so it's absolutely fine. It very, very much depends on what the internal semantics of moving mean, which is why you can't guarantee it. So you should, I would say, assume it is UB to use it, although it might not necessarily be, if that makes sense. The center of gravity of stuff is not the visual center of an object. Oh, one absolutely amazing observation from Mega Johnny 74 there. Yeah. I don't even call it unspecified, because like if you move an int, that is well specified, because moving of basic types is equivalent of copying. So it really does depend on the object. Yes, I heard you type it like that. Okay, so maybe we're thinking center of gravity is not that. Oh, okay. I think I understand. I think I understand the implication now of what's being said. Yeah, I think the origin, we have a mismatch in what we consider the local space origin of each object. So the center of mass presumably is, I don't know, some sort of weighted average of all the average of all the vertices, right? Which will probably be like right in the middle there. Whereas I don't know where the origin of this actually is, like locally. I would have thought it would have been in the center, but it might not be. It might be at the bottom, it might be at the top. Do we think this is half off? Yeah. What I want is does it have the notion of just like a position? But even then, I guess you'd have to check the axes line. The local space coordinate system is the same, which I guess it's not. Let's do that. So it's like get position. What do we think? Worth a punt? I'm kind of hoping we'll just find a magical function. Like often when I'm stuck, I just hope that there's a magical function I missed which does what I want it to do. I mean, it's exactly the same, isn't it? I suspect we're going to have to manually offset this. Right? Thoughts? Let's just open this up and have a look. I think Haran's point that the model itself might not be centered at 0, 0 because it's actually packed into a obj file, like a scene within that, and that has loads of other entities, and I just kind of assumed pulling that out would give you a reasonably sensible local coordinate system, but maybe we should not be assuming. I'm using a custom one, but it's pretty basic because it just integrates better into the graphics pipeline than we had. I'm sure there's... Someone did mention they might have had a default one, but I wanted to write one anyway because it's a good learning experience. Right. This right. Where's all my where is everything? Computer. Hello. WSL. Home me projects. The game assets. I don't know what it's called. I think it's warehousepack.obj. I don't know if I enjoy Maya. I just hate it less than Blender. So yeah, these are all the objects, right? So what I don't know is like how these are exported, because you know like that there looks very similar to the offset of the disparity between the physics position and the graphics position looks very similar to like the distance between that and the origin, right? Or is that even? I mean, that's not even the object. No, it's one of these. Maybe that's the distance. Yeah. I'm not shit talking Blender. It's an incredible bit of software which people get a lot of use of. I just don't get on with the the problem is I learnt Maya at university when it was free, because it's free for students, and this is how they get you. And then I say learn Maya. Ha ha ha. I drove Maya blindly at university for a couple of years, or a year or two. And then when I realized I had to pay for it, I was like, oh, I'll switch to Blender. And then all the muscle memory, I just couldn't. I found it very difficult to transfer over, and I just didn't put the effort in. So now I just suck it up and pay for Maya, which is absolutely not what you should do. You should just probably learn Blender. Well, I think that's right, because the height is right, because I reckon we want that to be in the center. Now I'm going to really show my lack of Maya knowledge. How do I can I ungroup these? I want just I want this, but at the origin, right? But I mean, I could just just resave it as that, but I feel like it's just kicking the can down the road a little bit. Well, I think it will be offset, because I think it should be that, right? 0, 0 should be in the center. I'm not. When we create these ob trials, can we recenter the object at 0, 0? Oh, now that's a great suggestion. Do we fix the model loader? Sorry, the resource packer to recenter that. Can async do that? Is that like can I just be like async please fix my code? Async recenter object. My wife was just informing me there's indeed a glass of wine left for me after I finish streaming, which is exciting. So stream's over, I'm off. I'm not sure I necessarily agree. I think it should. So the point is that the model, we should just treat the model as is, right? Because it's presuming there's a reason this is offset, or there might be a reason we want it to be offset, and we shouldn't be messing around with that. I think the answer is actually kind of yes and no. I think ideally we would have like a manifest YAML file or something which went along with this, which basically gave the option of like when it's passing through, recenter this, rotate this. Do you know what I mean? Apply additional, like you're effectively sanitizing the data into the exact format that you want to load it into the game. I don't think there's a way of doing it, which means I would have to loop through all the vertices and find their average position? Is that how you find the center of mass and then offset all of them? I think I might just export this and just see if this fixes it to start with. Yeah, yeah. It sounds like the consensus is we should fix this before, like in the actual graphics software, as in before we put it through our asset pipeline. I'm inclined to agree. It sounds sensible. I think what I need to do is maybe quietly break out all that stuff from in Maya into separate asset object files and then export them individually rather than having this massive scene. But for now, we're going to do it. We're going to do it the hard way, or the easy way. I don't know. The wrong way, I think, is probably the correct way to say that. Projects. I don't know why I'm asking anyone who don't know where my files are. Okay, let's object export warehouse to export all. Okay, so now let's do copy assets resource. Pack. Here you go. So that's yeah. I think we'll just. I might just do that. That's not. I'm trying to only commit code that I've written live, but I think producing assets, I feel I can quietly maybe just do that on an evening and prep those for everyone. What am I doing? Actually, no. What am I doing? So I've actually created this, but I want actually only want one of these, right? So let's just move assets warehouse object, just stick that out of there. So now should only be one in there. So now I can do pack is into a resources file. This write takes a little second because we didn't. I tried to do with the write via the map file and it crashed and I gave up and I was like, I'll just wait for the amount of time it's going to take. So I need to fix that at some point. Yeah, hope everyone's enjoying watching pack some assets. And then I think I copied off the old one first, so ls. Sorry. Yeah, I've got this saved tucked away, so we can revert back to the old one if we need to. And then I'll just move the new resources over this. Then the previous loader then the game should just pick it up, and all should be well and right in the world. And then I think that's probably. I'm still not feeling 100%. We'll see if we can get a couple of barrels in there. Maybe rotate some of them. Obviously, the graphics won't update, but it'd be nice to see them rolling around a bit or something, or stack them on top of each other. I don't know. And then we'll see what we get to. I think you can just like apply a force. I might just like push one, see what happens. Oh, this is tedious. It's definitely the writing of the file. Excuse me. I need to go back and map this in. I can't remember why it didn't work, because you should be able to just like get a memory mapped pointer and just memcopy to it. And then, yeah, I think we'll be pretty good place then. Is this just sitting on disk? I think the issue I think is going via the WSL. I think it's slow to write. It is not using the write does not use the Win32 mapped file, but the read does, which is why the reads are so fast. Okay. Okay, so I think that's what I want, and then if this blends, see what happens. Oh, everything is slow today. Hey. Well, do you not like my mesh? Couldn't find mesh. I wonder if somewhere in the exporting of this, I've lost all the names. How do I right? Can I just? Yeah. Okay. Fine. We'll just. This is how. This is how it's all meant to pan out. Oh my goodness! What have I pressed? Okay. Outstanding. Probably actually easy to do this in the perspective view, isn't it? Nope. This is where you find out that I'm 100% not a graphics designer. I mean, that's as good as it's going to get, I reckon. Now, there's a recenter object. I need to change is it the pivot? Nope. I really don't want to do it manually. Modify reset transformation. What's this? Modify. Zero pivot? Modify center pivot. There we go. That's what I want. Yeah, reset transformation. We got there in the end. So now, what's this called? Like, I don't want the transform. I want the. Here you go. What was it looking for in the other one? Metal. I mean, I'm gonna have to repack this as well, but I guess there'll be less in it. I mean, it is one of the better integers, I guess, for a metal barrel mesh. Is that still not even in the? It's not even. It's not even. Is it not even in the center? Reset transformation. Oh no, 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 no. I don't want that. Because yeah, in theory I want this, right? But oh no, I have no idea what I'm doing. So modify center pivot is the object, right? Reset transformation and then 0 again. Reset transformation, 0 pivot, right? Oh, and then 0 this. I'm getting a lot of suggestions. Transform tools. I want to just. I feel like this is what I want. I don't know what I want anymore. So modify reset transformation. So I definitely don't like that. I don't think that's working for anyone. So. Is it freeze? Okay. Freeze resets it. Okay. So now we do this dance again. And now I do modify freeze transformation, modify center pivot. Okay, I think that's what we want. So now this is 0, 0, and changing any of these is pretty much what we want. Absolutely crushed it. Right, let's export selection, because I don't really want any of this other shite in there. And what do I need to call it? I've completely lost the will to live here. I just need to override what I've already got. So export selection, replace it. All the normals will be wrong now or something, or will explode outwards. I mean, yeah, it's been several years since I've used Maya in anger, so actually probably nearly a decade. So yeah, so forgive me for being a little bit rusty on the older commands. Do we print out the? Okay, so we. I feel like we should print out. I'm really surprised we don't print out the name of the assets as we get them. So packing the path, object, fails load module. Oh, here we go. We do get packing this. So did it just not pack anything when I did it last time? Sure. Okay, fine. Let's. What was I doing? I want that. Okay, right. Packing. Initial shading group metal barrel mesh 25. What is? Oh my goodness! Is that the full name of it? I mean, is this right? But why is it appended that name to it? Or prepended, I should say. Oh man, I don't know, man. I just work here. But I think this is now the name of our resource. Yeah, I mean, we'll figure it all out when we get proper assets and stuff. I just want to just kind of prove out that we can simulate something and then render it, even if the pivots are all over the shop and in the wrong place and not where we expect it. It's just get something going. Thanks for the encouragement, Night Rituals. It's definitely not good programming at the moment. It's not good asset development. It's not good anything at the moment. Okay, so anticipating this. I guess that. No reason it can't have a space in it. Is that right? Okay, so let's copy that up and then game. It just died. Thanks for resubbing, AC. Much appreciated. Why would you? What? It literally just died. Right. What was I debugging last? I think it was this. I don't think I've looked at anything 64-bit since this. Oh, what? Okay, apparently there's nothing there. Let's go with Ubuntu. Let's go home. Let's go to me. Let's go to projects. Let's go to the game. Let's go to build. Let's go to no. Maybe game. What was my command line arguments? Run that. I want it with /assets. File, change command line. That. Assets. Okay, give that a whirl. First chance exception here. That's exciting. Cool stack. I threw the exception. Did I? I didn't get a call stack. Or did I? Resource loader. Okay, definitely doesn't like the resource loader. Obviously none of that. It's failing on an ensure in file in 231. File 32, sorry. Source? Nope. Unless this is wrong. Yeah, I think we should have a look at the TLV data. Assets, resources, less, and then what was it going to be called, like barrel metal? Why am I? Oh, wait, it's searching. Basically I can't even run strings because they're not null terminated. That's fun. Does it not find it? It should be pretty. Oh, no, it's because it's going to be all the. It's going to be all the texture data first. Okay, we've got metalness. That'd be part of the material. Whatever hot mess that is. Did not think this ET string would appear this much. These are all RGB triplets, aren't they? I don't. It doesn't store the obj. I don't think. Just the problem with this searching is if it runs over the line, it won't find it. So I'm trying to find the minimum number of characters that kind of successfully identifies the name. This is no longer working for me. I mean, maybe we. I feel like it's weird to me that I'm not getting a stack trace as well. That's also strange to me because the debugger is very clearly groaning about a call to ensure and then the throw from ensure, which seems very strange to me. I guess let's set. Where's resource loader? Let's just set a breakpoint on resource loader. Oh, no. Yes. Let's see what happens. Treat ourselves. Don't care about that. Okay, resource loader. So what's that doing? Let's pass the string view into, what would that be, RDI? So let's throw that in the dump. That is garbage. Okay. What? Hey? Am I missing something? What's the Windows call, x64 calling convention? It won't be on the stack. It'll be. Is it RCX? Yeah, okay, RCX is the first one. So following dump. That looks like a pointer and a length to me. So let's follow that. Put it in there. Is it? That looks like garbage to me. It looks like a where's this been called from? This is the. This will be loading the images first, anyway, right? If we go to main, where do we call resource loader? So. Oh, it actually loads the full TLV, doesn't it? And then it passes through it. So why? Well, this is this is strange because Yeah, RCX, RDX. I normally don't do this on like Linux stuff, so that's why I was thinking like, oh, yeah, probably RDI. Okay. I think I'm debugging the wrong thing. Let's start again. Let's go to the actual crash. Let's get rid of that. Okay, cool stack. So we are resource loader.load, and the only resource we load. Okay, fine. I think I'm understanding better. This is the only resource we load now. I'm stuck in the old mindset. We had to load them all one by one. We only load the TLV and then pass it. So this then tries to construct a file, and that file is, it's not liking that. What are my arguments? So I'm running it up one with the assets, and but definitely a resource that was literally just updated. I suspect the issue is the changing the obj file has caused this to tricky one. What call is this? So this is the ensure. So I think this is the ensure that's failing, right? So let's just try this again. I wasn't paying attention. Okay, so here. So is this the one that? So if I step over this, do I die? Okay, fine. So we're on the line that fails, which is fine. Go forward. Okay. I really wish it would. Oh, hang on. Don't I have to enable source debugging? Save. Let's try it again. See if I get some source code. Just be useful. Okay, fine. Whatever. Fuck you. So RCX here is ensure, but it's all templated misery. But RDX failed to open file. So yeah, so I think I'm failing to open the file. What's the source code look like for file? Where do we do create file A? So where's the call to create file A? Here it is, like a separate point here. Okay, so yeah, okay, so this return -1. So let's go symbols, can't say 2, get last error, and we'll just massage our instruction pointer to go to there, and then we'll step. So 3. So what's error code 3 when it's home? Is path not found. What am I doing wrong? Why has it not found that file? It's looking in up assets resource, right? So it has a resource. Yeah, I don't know why it's not getting logged either. Something's going really weird. I think Windows is kind of okay with mixing the delimiters, but it could be that. But why was it working before? Do you know what I mean? Like, what have I changed? Because none of this has changed, right? You can see that there's no git changes on this line. I don't think resource loader itself has changed. This just uses this operator. This uses the operator overload to append the root. So I'm pretty sure that this is right, as in, like, I can't see this not working. Unless I think I'm running it from the wrong directory. Apologies, everyone. What a waste of everyone's time. Change command line. I'm on the command line. I'm running it from build, but here I'm running it from source. So I just need another one of those. That should work. So now we do this, and then Fn F8 that pass, because that looks very much like a file handle to me. F9 F9, and then it's going to load that, which is going to work, and then there, and then we're going to load there, and then that's going to work, and then now we get the first chance exception. So now we're the actual bit that actually breaks, which is in mesh. Ensure. So where are we in mesh? Line 57. Cannot find mesh. Okay, so it still doesn't like the name. So I don't understand what name it's packed into it. Can I think what I can do is what I should be able to do is, once I've got the reader, I should be able to go like for const auto mesh in reader dot reader std views filter auto e dot this will give me one of those, and then what I'm going to want is, oh, I definitely don't want that many of those. TLV entry, can I can get the type out of it, so e dot type equals game TLV type mesh data. Right, so I should be able to iterate through all the meshes in there. That, and then do const auto m equals mesh dot mesh value, right? And then std println m dot do I not keep? Oh my! Do I not have the name? Oh wait a minute. No, the investigation is still stuck here, but I think I know roughly what's going on now. So that'll give me the entry, and then because the mesh data itself is just aggregate data, isn't it? So I want to be able to get, because it skips over that. So TLB entry. Can make the code really small. Mesh data. Here we go. What I want is this. I want something like this, where I basically do I think I have to bodge in here auto value const. I'm not going to commit this. I'm just using this to kind of take a little peek into the data that we've got. I think I want reader dot value. I think. Nope, that's not what I want that at all. Sorry, I want start entry dot value, and then the reader cursor will be the read, and then get the reader cursor type, and then println reader cursor dot string. I think it's not. It's definitely something like that. Read reader 971. There you go. And then probably want to return in there. So again, I'm just using ranges to filter over every entry to only get the ones in the mesh data. I know guilty knowledge that the first entrance of the mesh data is a string, and that'll be the name. So we'll print all those out, and then we'll be like, okay, fine, what is this? What's going on? Just entry.value. No named value in TLB. TLB entry. Haven't saved it, so there you go. That's the first time that's happened to the stream. Forgot to save a file. Okay, we're getting there. Syntax error in TLB reader. That's gonna be because all this is gonna be like game TLB reader. And is that then something he's dereferencing? There you go. I mean that didn't get us any further. Hey, like This shouldn't touch any of the internal data because the type is stored separately. So it should be able to just iterate through these. Is it crashing in the load? It's crashing. It must be in here. I don't want to talk about it. It's going to be pretty good. Okay, what is... What is going... What? Am I missing something really, really simple here? I could do a clean build. I'm just very surprised that it prints that out and then nothing till there. Again, I don't want to talk about the print statements. Yeah, I might have to. It's a bit of a pain to get set up with the VS debugger. I might have to go back through and do that. Something very strange is afoot here. I might have to put a pin in this, which I know is a little bit upsetting, and we'll pick this up on Wednesday just because I'm still not 100%. And I do need to get some sleep at some point. It is really frustrating to leave this on a downer, but we'll go for a little bit longer. But we'll have to call it at some point. Yeah, I might. What I'll probably do is have a little bit of a play off stream and then see if we can. I've got to film and edit next video. This is strange. I really don't understand. Have I typoed something? Like, I just don't understand why. Like, I don't understand why I'm just not getting any further than line 52 in main. Like, what am I doing wrong? What? Is it the logging code? Is that how to fit? Whoa, 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 whoa. What am I building and running? Like, what is going on? Just check it's not like a weird file handle issue, like because the debugger had it open, maybe. I thought I was running the correct binary. Now I'm running the correct binary. The debugger obviously held. That is very strange because what happened is the debugger had a handle open to the executable. But I do and so the build should have failed, but it was basically passing and saying yeah go, and it was just caching the old one. That's very strange. Yeah, but what I'm saying is why would build pass if it couldn't write the file? Anyway, I've got a stack trace now, so that was a waste of time. Okay, it is this. Apparently, that's what I want. At least that code worked. Which I thought I had before, but 6? 6? Where'd you copy that from? Why am I failing to copy this? Sure. Okay, fine. I'm zero interest in fixing that. Okay. Are we back to now? Okay, now something strange is going on again because here we've got an exception in the mesh constructor, probably because it couldn't find the thing. We've put the name in, and now it's passing it and dying. I think I have not exported. Yeah, this is cursed. I think the issue is something to do with how I've exported this obj file. What? I don't even know how to go about fixing that. What I probably need to do is create a blank Maya scene, export a cube, check I can import that, and then maybe import the barrel into that. I honestly think the issue is I think the issue is this. I think this has not packed it correctly, and I think it's passing it, and then wait a minute. What's all? So it's found all the. Oh no! Wait a minute. Hey. Yeah. Okay. So it's done the material. I'm getting confused because this is the last log line. I suspect it's crashing in mesh. I think this is not patching incorrectly. I'd be surprised if I. I'm surprised one of these doesn't fail. Like the data. Let's have one last quick look in the debugger. We get first chance exception, access violation. Ooh. Something. SIMD. I think it's proxying on my OpenGL calls through Vulkan, which is funny. Potentially. Buffer right? Buffer writer. There is this is on my to-do list. This would be really funny if this is the case. this doesn't check that there is enough capacity to write before. It just blindly writes, I think. This needs to do std uint32t size, and then size, and then we need to do hash include error, and then we're going to do ensure that size is less than data dot size bytes plus offset. I think that's right. Buffer too small. Sorry, yes, you're right. Ensure that the amount of space I have is more than the amount of data I want to write at any given offset. Yeah, it was a typo on my an oversight on mine. Hang on, let's stop this before we play that game again. That'll be a fun one. I reckon this will crash. Oh, sorry, I reckon it was crashing in the OpenGL call because it was writing beyond the buffer. I think this will catch it and throw, and then at least we know what the issue is. Illegal. Do not remember what are you chatting about? Have I just forgotten to? God damn it! Ooh. Ooh. No, it's fine. I do my best to kind of balance thinking and typing and chatting, but I'm glad you like the videos. Hopefully they bring back good memories. OpenGL should throw if we get a debug type error. Right, so that should be okay. Unless it's, to be honest, I will admit I don't really know all the combinations of these of type and severity. I just assumed if it was an error it would throw. There's calling right on the vertex data. Really wish you'd give me the source for this. And it's disappearing off somewhere into the implementation details. I check size bytes. Is there anywhere else we copy data? Oh no, but this is literally it, like buffer write. It's crashing in buffer write, okay? And there's not a lot of functions in here, right? No, I did close it. We'll try it again in a minute, but I'm pretty sure I closed it. Okay, stop this and give that another go. Yeah, I think it's crashing in GL named buffer subdata. How strange. Again, am I just giving it bad data? Size, I think it crashes if you give it size 0. Yeah, it's definitely, it is 100% this line here. And in fact, this is right. Yeah, but I'm kind of curious why these are different sizes anyway. That seems strange. Surely I would have allocated enough space to write it. So where do I write the data? It's probably going to be here. Oh no, because I have space for the indices, don't I? So it should. It doesn't actually matter. You probably should be size bytes, but that won't be the issue because we've got a span of stub bytes. A stub byte is 1 byte size, so they are the same. I'm writing into it at 0 offset, right? It's 0 offset, so it's writing 5420 bytes into a buffer this size. The VBO here uses size bytes, right? So you give it takes out of the mesh data the number of vertices in size bytes and the number of indices in size bytes and allocates that much space for them. It then tries to write in the vertices and writes in the indices. The writer is templated such that it will take a span here. It will write the data as bytes into the current offset that it is tracking, and then it'll update the data to be size bytes for the next offset. Yeah, I think this. How opinionated is GL named buffer subdata? Because mesh data is just a span. No, mesh data is the actual data. Oh no, sorry, it's a span. Sorry, I just completely misread that. So it's a span. So it has to still be owned by someone. Is it at any point going out of scope? Is Alright, so I'll just check it's nothing to do with this. I can't see constructing another reader would in any way interface this. So the data. Hang on. Let's so the data has to exist somewhere inside resource loader. That just resolves a file path. Oh, because I can get a file out. Oh, but the file. On the file will clean itself up when it goes out of scope. but I take I transfer ownership of it out because this will be a PR value which will initialize this. So the TLV file is legit for the entire lifetime. I can't see it suddenly unmapping itself. I don't think that's a thing. There is no error generated by the subdata command. It's crashing. I think that is the issue. So hang on. Let's move out assets. Resource. Hang on. Which one was which? I think resource 2 the backup, or were we doing that about an hour ago? Christ, we're doing that about an hour ago. So let's go back to the old one. No, debugger's not running. I wonder if we've had UB and we've accidentally triggered it now. Well, no, because this, you are guaranteed RVO, right? You're guaranteed return value optimization here, which is why they changed the wording of the standard for around PR values and initialization in 17 to guarantee this. So this will get return value optimized to here. Obviously, if it was named, we might not be able to guarantee NRVO, but I think that's right. I don't think NRVO is guaranteed. I think only RVO is guaranteed. Yes, correct. Yeah, but the standard guaranteed, well, copy elision as they call it. I'm actually, my brain is absolutely dead with this. I think I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to play around it offline, and we'll pick this up Wednesday, I think, because I think this is a good one and it's fun. But I just feel like this could be it's either a 2-minute fix or a 2-hour fix. I'll have a play around with it and see if we can get it. Before everyone disappears, though, I think it's that time of, is it that time of the month when I can give out goodies? Gifting. I can. YouTube does allow me to give out 1-month trials of the channel membership, so here's 5 for you. Good luck. Roll the dice. Do come back on Wednesday for more. That gives you access to some behind the scenes content and early access to the videos, and I'm desperately trying to get, in addition to this, another video done next week. I've about finished the script, so I just need to film and edit and do the thumbnail and do all the other YouTube stuff. It's funny, this next one. The game I looked at gave me an existential crisis at one point. It was quite strange. But yeah, thank you very much for coming along. Apologies, that was kind of ends on a bit of a bummer, but my brain is totally dead with this, and I just need to go and take a break and come back to this on Wednesday. I would definitely encourage you to come on Wednesday if you can, because I think the solution to this is going to be fun, whatever it is. And yeah, I think we did whatever this was. Oh, hang on, what am I doing? What am I not? I'm a chatting view. We did whatever that was with the barrel. We talked a lot about some low-level C++, which is interesting. So definitely come back Wednesday. I'll hand out 5 more membership trials, but we'll have some fun. I'm going to think very hard about this. I might have a little play around, and we'll see what we get to. Cool. Well, thank you very much for coming along. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday for however long that is, and I'll catch you all Wednesday. Thanks very much.